Now I'm going to go ahead and drop on here some items. I get rid of Hello World. Go to my text. I'll drop on a couple of numbers, text fields. Drop on a button. And then drop on another text field number. And we'll click our magic wand to create these. Now, if I click the first text box here, over to the right-hand side under our attributes, you'll see it says 16 and it says 67. You can do the drop down here, and you could choose 24, change 32. You could change this 67, 24, 32, or whatever you want there. You can type in a value. I'm not quite sure why that's not showing very well. Actually, doesn't show at all. But if you click outside of there, it still doesn't show real well. You can type any number in there. Like if I type 11, then that'll do 11. If I click down here, you can actually see the 11. So you can manually type those in, or you can do the drop down and choose, looks like powers of, or multiples of 8. Now you can also click this little circle here on the square and get rid of those. So you need to see now that there's no connection between it and the top and the side. You could click it again. This little, whatever that is, but that little icon there, and it'll set up a connection again. You can click over here and make a connection over on that side. Move these down a little bit. Now over here, you kind of see the same thing. You have these lines going across over here. If I click that little circle right there, you see it gets rid of that connection. If I click this circle here, it'll get rid of that connection. So that's how you can get rid of those individual constraints. Now if you want to set up the constraint yourself, if you click this circle, left mouse click, hold down, and drag over to here, then when it touches the side, it'll move it over closer. Now when you move it over like that, you see there's a connection made between there. You're probably going to find that the Infer Constraints, the little magic wand, is probably the easiest to work with. But if the Infer Constraints isn't giving you what you want, then you can experiment with that. Now, this first one here says we got 40 and 96. 40 to the top, 96 to the side, or whatever yours says. If I go to the text, you see the layout is put in reference to the top, which is 40. And this talks about margin left, margin start, or 96. You could come here and you could type in these numbers. So if you just can't get it to do what you're wanting, type in 120. And then you'll see it change over here. And the interface here doesn't allow you to see the 120, but that would be 120. I think real small does say 120 right there. You see it refers to what it's constrained to. Since this is our first edit text, it's just constrained to the parent. Our next edit text is constrained to the previous edit text. So that's mapped to that. Doesn't have to be. If I come down here and I see the line going up to that, I could click the circle there to get rid of it. Click circle again and drag it to the top. Sometimes it does weird things when you do that, though. The typical constraint is like constraining it to the one right above it or to the side of it or something like that. Let's see what that looks like. Probably really mess it up. The idea in this is you can design it such that no matter what your interface, it'll look decent on it. That you got equal spacing or whatever you're specifying in the middle, but maybe it's centered. It doesn't look too bad. But see, again, I tied this second edit text up to the top. Sometimes I try to set these up manually myself. It just doesn't look good. So when I try to connect it to the top like that, and then this text box, I click the circle here and drag it onto the circle here. Yeah, I did it right. Then that creates that connection. For this one, if I got rid of that connection, I could manually set it. So click that and click the circle here. So that's the manual way to do that. Is there any questions on the manual constraints?
Is there a purpose really? Like, other than, I mean, because the regular infer constraint seems to work pretty well. So is there
it works pretty well for what we're doing because we're putting everything up in the upper left-hand corner.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to get that right look of centering and having it so far from the bottom, so far from the top, then like this one here, that is geared toward the button, so that if you have a big display, you may have a bunch of white space at the bottom. Instead of setting your constraint there, you can take your constraint and set it toward the bottom. So then, no matter what your interface is, this will be this far from the top, this will be this far from the bottom. This one, no matter what, will be that distance from the side. So just more, we're not going to do a whole lot with the design on that. But if you're trying to get that perfect look for every electronic device this goes on, that's how you do it. I suspect there's probably entire books written about how the design should be set up on that. I don't know. Does anybody ever really look at an app that close to notice those things?
Not exactly. Never really comes to mind.
I don't remember an app I ever looked at. So that's not pleasing to the eye. Where this, this alignment and yeah. But that is a feature you can control with that. And if you can't see your text box anywhere on there, it could be it's so far up, so far down, where you have to come in here and see what in the world's going on with it. Like instead of a margin of 32, if it's 3200 from the top, then you'll see it's nowhere to be found. It disappears. Yeah. And could be just a typo that does that. So you come in here and you can then see, okay, that shouldn't be 3200, should be 32. And then you get it back. So, they give you XML so you can have total control over that, such that if you just can't get the interface to work like you want it, if you map it out on paper, what you're wanting, you could come here and manually type those in. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that project. Then we'll click Start a New Android Project. I'll leave everything as default. Now I'm going to go to Google Chrome and find an image. I'm going to choose register to vote since that's popping up saying I need to register or
How
to register. Here's a register to vote. So I right click on that and save image as. And it's called download, but I'll change it to vote.jpg. So go ahead and bring in some kind of image to your computer. Now over here, you got your app, you got your manifests, you got your Java, you got your resource. We got our resource. There's a drawable. You can expand, and you have IC background IC launcher background XML and IC launcher foreground XML. Under the drawable, if you right click, you see you could do a bunch of new items. You could add a lot of stuff to it. You can also copy and paste it in there. Specifically, the item we're going to look at is an image. So if I go over to my pictures, you see the vote.jpg. I right click on it and choose copy. And come over to drawable, I right click and choose paste.
was. Accent closed it.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, res, drawable. Right click on that,
I click on drop.
and then paste. And I'm trying to remember which one you want to drop in. I think it's drawable. Drawable doesn't work. We'll drop it in the other one. Then click OK. Give it a name if you want. We'll just leave ours as whatever you call it, whatever images you selected. Click OK.
Do I paste it to just drawable or?
Just the drawable, yes.
Okay, so it said beach.
We'll try drawable first. In terms of that option you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one it is, to be honest. So now, if I go over to my activity main, and I go back to my design, I'm going to get rid of Hello World. And you see there's an image view. If I drag the image view on here, you got drawable here, you got project. If you expand project, you should see your vote you just selected. Your best images to use are PNG files, especially if they're transparent.
Yeah, that's what I have.
You got to try, yeah. See, and that works out perfect. This would work out fine since we have a white background, but if we didn't have a white background, it wouldn't look good. Very well. Choose vote and click OK. It drops that on there.
Didn't for me.
Oh, didn't?
No. Oh, it says it'll drop to 0, 0 unless I add constraint.
Right, because we haven't done the constraints yet.
But it didn't pop anything.
Didn't put anything in there?
No. Let me try again. Review. Why is it? Why is it a star?
It means something's not valid. I'm just dropping it on there.
I deleted the other one.
Let me get in there.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I did it differently. Project, see, and then it is this. Maybe the
Easy
image
mouse.
is so tiny that. It's a tiny picture. Should I try a different picture? Is it?
You might. Unless you can grab that corner and move it out. I can't grab that corner.
Okay. Still tiny. Why?
Yeah, you might grab a different image.
Okay. Mark Zuckerberg over here.
No,
What, did you do the one?
I'm trying to.
Keep talking. I'll leave it. Why is it so?
Why yours isn't dragging on there? How did you get it on there before?
I don't know. I literally just put.
So that's what version 28 would do.
It shouldn't be version 20. I disabled automatic exit. Why? You guys need like a really big picture. I think there's no way it's that tiny. It has never done that before.
Something's askew here. This is not even letting me drop a text number on there.
Sorry, I have the DPI on my mouse for about 5 minutes.
What's that?
That's just the name of it.
Okay. Huh.
Weird. Oh, okay. It's probably just a picture. I honestly think it's.
This view is not constrained.
I can just keep it. It's such a really tiny one. If you want me to.
Hey, got my, oh my gosh.
Is it big or is it small?
It's really big.
Well, at least you can see it. Mine's on like a microscopic level.
That doesn't look small.
No, it shouldn't be. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, let me show on the wallpaper. See if that one. It's 1920 by 1080p, so it should be big enough.
It's almost like your background is so big or so small that the image is not.
Yeah, I think it's just the size.
See, but I don't see what's wrong with your display to where it comes up. Maybe it's just size. Which doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna have to think on that one.
No, that's weird.
Reason why is if you bring in the image here, if you grab that bottom right hand corner, you can resize it. But on your case, when we tried to grab that bottom right hand corner, it wouldn't let us resize it. Now again, we can do infer constraints on that. And if I run it, And it brings up our image. And you can't see it on overhead there, but I can see the white of the background does not match this. So again, the PNG is your best format. One of the books I was reading says PNG is your preferred format, JPEG if you have to, and GIF if you're just forced to. But PNG is your best. Now it's not hard to change something to PNG, by the way. If I and this is on everybody's PC, paint.net. If you go on paint.net, I remember, have I showed you paint.net? Okay. If you open up the image you just downloaded, I could do the magic wand over here and click on the white area, and it'll select all the white. You can change the tolerance to get it to choose more or less. If it appears like it's grabbing a little bit of the other color, then you can change the tolerance. Once you get it to the point where you want it, if you do an edit cut, then you'll see that it has the transparent background. Then if you do a file save as, you'll see a PNG is one of your options. And then click save, and then click OK. But what I got is good enough for what I'm demonstrating. Just like everything else, you can manually change your constraints over here. Got layout width and layout height. I was having some difficulties with that over the weekend. I was typing in numbers here. It wasn't working quite right. Not quite sure why. There's 200 by 20. Remember how yours was so small you couldn't even see it?
Yeah.
If you couldn't grab the corner, this is one area you could try to change. I have no clue what I was doing wrong this weekend, but it wouldn't let me type in the numbers in and giving me a good picture for. Oh no, I was doing it on my desktop computer. I bet that was it. I got some weird things going on with that.
I've never had issues on here.
Yeah.
Is it doing it? No, it's doing it to JC.
Make his image
Yeah,
rules.
now it's doing the thing where the star pops up whenever you try to click and drag stuff. So you can't drag anything into his box. I had to restart.
What? What's going on?
We're both having some issues with our Infer project. And I didn't have any issues until I pulled up the picture.
Oh.
Huh.
Cancel out at first.
It's not the transition.
It's not. Is it still doing the thing where it drags? You can't drag anything. It now has a start, but it's letting you drag. And my project is broken, so I'm gonna have to do that. want to delete. Is there a way you can just delete certain projects from the UI, or do you have to?
I remember you had to paste it into your drawable.
I did, but I wanted to get rid of this one, so I
Oh.
wanted to bulk this one.
You cut it. Sure, delete. Press your delete button. Oh, there's delete.
Okay.
Anyway.
We're gonna try this one. Okay, mention. Okay.
What was your question?
I was saying, is there a way I could delete certain projects from the menu, but I don't see anything on this right now.
No, I think you have to go to the
Actual
folder.
folder.
Yeah.
So why is there a star? I've never seen the star before. And then whenever I click it, project, which I didn't paste in.
Well, we haven't done images before. Is your other things doing a star too?
No.
Okay, and that's it. That's different.
Drawable. This one's a JPEG. Hopefully it's
It's
okay.
not even night. And that's still so dark. Okay. Seriously.
Close that. Go ahead and delete it. Add it in again. Or delete. And I go back and yes, okay. Go to your file explorer and right click on it again. And copy it. And then put it on paste.
I copied it.
Okay, go back to your file explorer. Because when you copy it, it grabs it, whatever's here. That's why I need to recopy it. And yeah, drop in the drawable. And then click OK there.
There. Like on here. Grab new video. Project. Why am I having all these issues? Give serious all the issues again. I don't like.
Please.
You haven't had one issue today, have you?
No. I mean, my picture's abnormally large for a tiny picture of Elon Musk. That's fine.
Thunderbolt 3. There are too many bugs with Android Studio. But then again, it's a free software, so you really can't.
See, I find bugs with all the software.
Do these make pizza today? Yep. We're gonna learn. I don't know if I think we're gonna learn today. Then tomorrow we're gonna make our own mac and cheese. And Thursday we're gonna wait. Today we're gonna also make our own mac and cheese. We're gonna make pizza. Tomorrow we're gonna do the.
What are you guys talking?
This.
Oh.
It's almost like it's not a valid image or something.
Yeah, I have no clue. I can go grab another one if you want to. I don't know why all the problems are originating from the pictures.
This is the one you had worked before, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if that works. If that works, then it's supposed to be the picture. It's the image. For some reason.
What I meant is tiny again. Can I just use like the Android face thing?
Let's see.
JC, what'd you do to fix your problem? What'd you do to fix it?
So like put it on there without having to drag it.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the image view, you right click it, go to add design. It pops up for me.
Well, now it's just really, really tiny right there. It's like a pixel. This is gonna do the same thing.
Still, that's so strange.
I don't know. I'm gonna go to Google and grab the exact one. And if I have any issues.
Yeah.
I'm gonna actually do that. It'd be weird having a registered though, because then again, all my pictures on there.
You should do the stack one.
Now I will tell you that I did have one of the images I picked over the weekend. I did have trouble getting it the right size. Because it looked good on my display here, and then I'd go run it, and it just suddenly became bigger or smaller. Yet I can do other ones like this, and when I ran this, it looked perfectly fine. Well, I don't know. What do you notice here when I ran it?
It's up in the corner and it's smaller.
It's a lot smaller, isn't it? So I had to do a lot of playing on this when I had text fields along there with it. Did it work?
Yeah, woke shack work.
Okay.
Good idea,
Thank you.
So like if I get rid of the infer constraints and I drop text boxes on here, I could drop a number on there, number here, then have a button. If I did my infer constraints, then ran it.
Oh. My resource name must start with a letter.
Oh, those start with numbers?
The one that didn't work did.
I bet that's it. Because variables by themselves cannot start with numbers. So somehow when you translate that over, I think you found out the issue. Okay, now it's making me a liar. It still looks decent, but I was having more trouble with that. And I'd have to manually do the constraints over the weekend to get it to look good. But again, it probably depends upon your image you're bringing in. Of course, the idea of bringing in the image is that you can make your app more pleasing to the eye, or you could even do like a restaurant type thing. I was trying to find some images of pizza to steal. You know how Pizza Hut and those you go to, the app, and you push pepperoni and pepperonis appear on your. And some of the images, they don't look great, do they? They don't put a lot of effort into it. So I was trying to see if I could steal something like that, and then have the buttons over here. You click pepperoni, and it adds pepperoni to the image, and so forth. I may end up just going to one of those and stealing all their images. The what?
Pizza Hut started in Wichita in the 1950s.
No, didn't we discuss this in here?
Not here.
Oh yeah, it did start. Mm-hmm.
Helium's in Dexter. It was discovered in Dexter.
Fun facts with JC
Fun
and
facts. The world's deepest man dug hole.
See, like if you go to Casey's here and you do an order.
Order online.
Order online. I forget which one it is, if it's Pizza Hut or Casey's. Those are really only two I order from.
I know, I think Papa John's used to do that.
Yeah.
Where they did the little rings, JPEG images of pepperoni on it.
So use my current location. Allow.
They'd be like, you ordered pizza to the company.
Let's see, stored order.
Delivery.
There's a somewhere there's a build your own pizza type thing. Oh, customize it. Okay.
I've only had Casey's pizza one time.
See, and here you got your picture of your pizza. This would be actually pretty easy to steal.
Extra.
If you take that off, then there's your picture there. Now, if you imagine this as an app, you click the Canadian bacon, and it basically puts that on there, doesn't it? Green pepper puts that on there. So one of two ways you could do it. You could drop an image on there that's transparent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I get rid of Canadian bacon now, Canadian bacon's underneath the green peppers, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I'd take off the Canadian bacon and then add it back on. Oh, it's still under the green pepper. So see how it's maintaining the layers?
Yeah.
So it's not on top. But
you add everything.
It probably would put the larger pieces on the bottom if they designed it that way.
No, that'd be a terrible pizza.
You can say top limit. Pizza serves best with 7 toppings or less.
Don't tell me how to live.
Pineapple.
They should have a "Don't tell me how to live my life" button.
I may try to see if I can get us some images just so we can play with a very simple app for creating like a menu. But anyway, that's how to add images on there. Now, if you have your main constraint layout shows here, you see over here you got some attributes. If you click each one of these, you got again their own different attributes. You can change other items on this. So if you want to change what something else looks like, you can. We haven't done very much with that. But you can do view all attributes and so forth. Yeah, that's probably all I want to show right there. Let's take a look at transitions then. So go ahead and close that. And start a new Android project. And just go ahead and click through everything. And we got our activity main.xml. Now, if you expand app, you see you got your manifest, you got your Java, you got your resource, drawable, layout, mipmap, values. Notice under layout it says activity main.xml. And that matches this activity main.xml we're working on. If you right click on layout, you see there's a new. And lots of different items you can choose, but specifically see there's an activity. And you can choose basic activity. So again, I'm on layout. I did right clicked on it, it shows new. and then activity, then basic activity, or actually empty activity, or basic, whichever you chose. Now this is our second name, and see it says main2 activity, and that's fine. Now what you're going to see on your screen is you have your activity main.xml, and you also have an activity main2.xml. If I click each one of these, you'll see they have their own screen. I'm going to get rid of Hello World here. I'm going to drop a button on here.
On main activity 1 or 2?
On 1. And I'm going to change the text on it to go to page 2. And I'll choose my Infer Constraints.
Page 2 then.
Now I'm going to go to page 2, and I'll drop a button on it. I'll have it say go back.
There we go.
Okay. You get it?
Hang Nabbit. I don't want to. Go to page add string /title_.
You can do escape if it pops up the little code completion. Now we're going to program the button click on our first item.
Just leave it. It's going to be a funny button. Go to page add string _activity.
Now you have to go to the right Java file. And see this activity main, this is main2. Notice this one's called main activity and this one's called main2 activity. So we want to be in main activity. And down here before our last curly bracket, we're going to do our public void button underscore click view v. Beginning curly bracket, it puts closing. You do an alt enter to do the bring in the view library. Now there's different code here, but this is the main piece here along with the last one. This creates an intent. An intent is kind of like an open method that opens up the that activity. Now, so if I come here and I type intent, capital I, and then intent lowercase, and then equals new intent, uppercase, and then this, comma, and main2 activity. So main2 activity dot class. You'll see it in red again. Yeah, alt enter. That'll bring in the code for the intent.
You don't like the dark theme?
What?
He's a wise man.
Not so.
I can't see that on the dark background.
Guess name and I were just superior.
Could be your eyes are better.
I'll punch you. I have enough eyesight to see that.
Now here's start activity, and then we say intent. So start activity in intent. Now I'm curious, my one at home didn't put this package context in here.
Start action mode. Why did I? No. It's the first thing that popped up when I click start action mode. I wonder what that does. Start action mode.
Now, what changes on each one of these is this name right here. Everything else you could use exactly as is. Now let's run it because, again, mine at home didn't put the package context, so I want to see if it works.
Yeah. Launch my nose, JC.
Did you just bonk his nose?
With my nose. With my hand.
Like your nose.
That blade nose, I'm just gonna stand up for you, JC. That's so brutal. I didn't even realize what that was.
Okay, so it brings up our first page here. If I click go to page 2. Oh, why can't I remember that? What do I have to do? Go to my activity main and associate the button with the code. So remember, to get the button to actually work, you have to attach it to the code we just created. I don't know how many times I click on that and not remember that. Okay, so now I'm going to click that, and it goes to page 2. So that's how you can change to different activities, different screens in your Android app.
Come on, Android. You can do it. Oh, it's just in the background.
Now we also want to take that same 2 lines of code, copy it, and we'll go over to main 2 activity. And you could call this the same thing. You could call it button click, or you can call it anything. Back button click. View V, Alt Enter, and then I'll paste that in. Cancel. No, I should have said yes to that. Alt Enter. But instead of this being main 2 activity, what should it be? Main activity.
I think I might have to choose the wrong thing. It's the same thing with YouTube. A bunch more.
Oh, that's fine. Just go down to the very bottom.
Floating action button. What?
Now what you can do is, if you got it over here on the side, just right click and add a new one. Where's that? A resource, layout. Come here.
Too.
Choose right click on that. Choose new, and then activity, and then blank activity. Where was that? Empty activity. The fact that you have that other one in there doesn't hurt anything if you don't use it. So, I mean, obviously you'd want to delete it if you were creating an app for real. But this will only load in what we've specified.
Is it empty activity?
Yeah,
Yes.
Activity.
Now this same principle should work in all of those items, but you just have a lot of extra code there. That's
So could I leave it?
yeah. You just have to be careful to put it at the bottom.
Okay, so I put it underneath the floating action button.
Okay, it just has to be before the last curly bracket.
Okay.
Now I changed this to main activity, but remember we have to then go. And on this, I want to associate it back to that button the button code we just created. So I come over here to on click, do the drop down, and you see a back button click. So that's code we just created. So now if I run that,
You could. Oh, you're just
you see it comes up and says go to page 2. I click that. It goes to page 2, and then I can do the go back. Goes back to original page. If I click go to page 2, and if I just do my back here, it performs like you'd think. It goes back to the previous. So us programming this with a button doesn't override the default behavior of certain phones.
all right. Let's try.
But what I want you to do
Oh, we're cool.
for the project is I want you to create an application that has 3 buttons on it, and then when you go to those 3, they should point to 3 different activities. When you go to those 3 different activities, they should all have a go back button and an image on the screen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just to give you practice going back and forth. Now, next time we're going to look at how do you pass data back and forth. So we're going to start exploring that. That's the second piece. But yeah, the rest of the time work on that.